Good afternoon, everyone, and thank you again for joining us. I'm Edith Juguna, and I am the director of the Illinois Education and Career Success Network. I'm joined by my colleague, Sarah Clark from Ed Systems, who helped coordinate today's session and who works on the STAMP initiative, which you'll hear more about shortly. We're very fortunate to have representatives from 3 Success Network leadership communities join us to share their lessons learned in advising students from underrepresented groups. We will hear from Jessica Hayes, Work-Based Learning Coordinator at Rockford Public Schools, Dr. Tina Lamb, College and Career Academy Coach at Jefferson High School, John Pieper, Technology Education Teacher at Elk Grove High School, Katie Shevokas, School Counselor at Moille High School. There will be time for questions after the presentations, and we are recording the meeting and we'll share the recording afterwards. For now, I'll kick it over to Sarah to share a little bit about the STAMP initiative.
Yeah, thanks so much, Edith. So great to be with you. We started the STAMP initiative, Scaling Transformative Advanced Manufacturing Pathways, together with the IMA Foundation just over a year ago. This is through a grant opportunity from DCEO, and it's allowing us to think of a new way to use those DCEO funds in school districts. It's been a really exciting project serving over 1,600 students across the state. STAMP has some really big goals. We're seeking to increase secondary and post-secondary enrollment in manufacturing pathways, particularly for underrepresented students. And when we say underrepresented students, we were looking to our participating regions to define exactly who that was based on the demographics they saw currently enrolling in their pathways compared to the demographics of their school and of their community at large. For some of those regions, that meant Black and Brown students. For some of that region, that means female students. For some regions, that's thinking more creatively about how we can engage rural students who have different transportation barriers or other issues getting into manufacturing. So to create more robust manufacturing pathways along the way, we're also looking to increase dual credit offerings and high quality work-based learning. One of the things we're doing through STAMP is using the data that districts are submitting to ISB to help report out to DCEO and also to start to look at longitudinal outcomes. So that'll be a few years away. But as we were thinking about how do we accomplish these really big goals for STAMP, it became very apparent to us that we needed to think about advising in a different way. And we were looking for community examples of how can we reach those underrepresented students? So I reached across the office to Edith and tapped her to see if there were some leadership communities out there who were already doing this well, that we could elevate those learnings back across to the STAMP regions and even beyond to all the school districts in Illinois to learn from them. So very excited to hear what our presenters have today. And I'm going to hand it over to John to get us started.
All right, thank you very much, Edith and Sarah, for organizing this and inviting me to talk today and talk a little bit about my experiences. So I teach at Elk Grove High School. It's part of High School District 214, just west of Chicago. O'Hare general area is what I say, just west of that, north and a little bit south. A little bit about District 214. We have 6 high schools and 1 alternative school. We have about 12,000 students within those 6 high schools. And we do have a district overarching apprenticeship and internship program. But what we noticed is we kind of needed we need to be able to kind of get our Elk Grove kids with our Elk Grove manufacturers. So I work very closely with the district, but we offer more specific to our student base here at Elk Grove, as well as I'll talk a little bit about our location on the next slide. I do teach a lot of different classes. So I am a full-time teacher, and then I do have one of my 5 preps is what we call the Career Development Academy, which is the internship program through Elk Grove, apprenticeship program through Elk Grove. And you kind of see here where we're located. Specifically Elk Grove, we have about 50% Hispanic students, a lot of them being first-generation students here at Elk Grove. You can kind of see the numbers there as well as our breakdown. Just east of us, wedged between O'Hare Airport and Elk Grove, is the Elk Grove Industrial Park, which we have a good amount of partners that we can pull from. We're very fortunate for that. And that's kind of how this kind of got rolling. We got together with the Village of Elk Grove, the mayor's office, and some of the manufacturers from our advisory team, our advisory committee, and said, like, hey, we know there's a need to get students right out of high school into manufacturing. How can we do that? So we have kind of partnered with the village, as well as I have 3 or 4 really good partners, which I'll talk about a little bit later on, that really take care of our students. And that's been kind of a big shift, as well, as that most of these manufacturers are used to dealing with, 50, 60-year-old men, and now they have 17, 18-year-old boys, girls, native Spanish speaking students coming in, and they're seeing that there is a lot of promise with these kids if they understand that they are fresh and brand new. So again, you can kind of see our breakdown there where we're located. We do have, if you actually click to the next slide for me, at Elk Grove and all of the 214 high schools, we do have a plethora of pathways. I am specific to the manufacturing career pathway. We offer a total of 5 classes here, and a little bit of breakdown of how we get students into and excited about an internship, apprenticeship, specific to manufacturing is kind of broken down here for us. And this is a plan, again, we've come together with many of our manufacturers, our principal, and some representative from the village of Elk Grove, and said, hey, I think this is how we can get kids excited about manufacturing and eventually out into the real world their senior year. And we start with that within our Fab Tech class, which is like an entry-level tech class. They learn a lot of different stuff in there, but that's where we kind of have people come in and talk to our students about manufacturing and the careers and the different skill sets that they can use. One of the big things that we pushed for is that we don't just have middle to late age white men coming talking to our predominantly Hispanic students. We actually want them to bring in people who look like our students, younger, kind of Hispanic speaking students or employees within the company that can talk to our kids in Spanish. Because, sometimes there is a little bit of a gap between English and Spanish when you talk about technical type stuff. So that is one thing that we've done. And we have actually kind of created a partnership with 2 or 3 of our companies that whenever they come and present, they bring former students with them. So we were actually over at, which kind of leads to the next set of classes, which is our advanced manufacturing and welding. That's when we start taking students out on site visits, because we've kind of narrowed it down. They're getting a little bit more excited. They're like, oh yeah, I can see the potential in this. So we'll start taking them out on site visits. So we start pretty early with getting manufacturers to talk to our kids, and then we start taking our kids to the manufacturers. And this is a great example. We were over at a partner, Die Masters, over in Elk Grove Village, and they actually have 3 of our former students there, one who graduated 5 years ago, one who graduated 2 years ago, and one who's actually a senior now and is actually doing his apprenticeship hours there every other day during the school day. So that's kind of where we get into that senior year career development academy is what we call it, which is really getting the kids out to the manufacturer sites their senior year, which can be a struggle. We actually piloted this in 2020, and everyone knows what happened in 2020. But the one thing that didn't stop was manufacturing. So even though we were on remote, we were the first ones to kind of bring kids back in because they needed to get hands-on experience for dual credit. In the advanced manufacturing, advanced CNC class, we were actually able to roll that out with our manufacturers. Our manufacturers were begging us to, like, hey, we had this going, we were ready to roll. Is there any way we could still do it? And we actually did. We got 5 students out in 2020 to kind of pilot that. And then we continued that. We, at Elk Grove specific, we have anywhere from 6 to 10 kids every year enrolled in the Career Development Academy. And the big thing is creating a good relationship with their counselors, because there's going to be a lot of adjusting the schedules based on the manufacturer that they end up with. So that's kind of the advising strategy and overview that we look at. And really senior year, more junior year, we really start talking about those soft skills, because that's one thing manufacturers repeatedly said is like, these kids need to be able to show up on time. They need to be able to talk. They can't have their phones out on the shop floor. So and then that's like measure, be on time, and put your phone away is like the big thing that these manufacturers want to see. So that's where we really start kind of hitting that home in their 11th and 12th grade, in the 11th and 12th grade classes. So I think, hop to the next slide for me. And then some of the key successes and lessons that I've learned. Again, I teach 4 classes, and then my 5th class is Career Development Academy. So one of the big things that I have done, and I run into this every year, is when we vet employers, I like to make sure that they have people who work for them or work with them or even higher up that look like our student population. We have a pretty heavy Polish student population as well as Hispanic, and a lot of our partners, they kind of follow that same path as well. Thank you. Okay. So that's one thing that, if we can kind of pair our students up with someone who comes from the same background, same area, and we kind of have created this pipeline between 3 or 4 different companies, and we're slowly kind of spreading that out. Another big thing that I've learned is a lot of our families that our students, come from, their home life, their parents are already in manufacturing. So a lot of our students over the summer, they will work with their parents at a manufacturer. And to me, that's great. Let's take advantage of that. Let's use that and get you already what you're doing. And let's just kind of get it official on the district books, which we go over, we do a site visit. My counterpart at the central office kind of sits with them and then talks about, what are the expectations? And that's a big thing that I've noticed has really helped. One, the students already there, so it's really less work for me. So then I can start focusing on some of these students who maybe don't have that experience in the back when they're coming to the program. Another thing is I really work closely with counselors because we kind of identify these kids, like I said, that pathway along the line. And every once in a while, one of our students will slip through the cracks, and they'll really have the aptitude to get into manufacturing, but maybe haven't come through our courses necessarily. So that's kind of where we work with the counselors as well. And just with scheduling issues. So for example, I have a student that was working every other day. So we're on a block schedule, which is kind of nice. So he comes to school full days on A days, and then comes in the morning for half the day, and at 11:20 he's on release time to go work. So what one of our employers asked is there any way that we could switch the schedule up so he has off like a full day? So we were able to work with the schedule, the counselors, and basically when we go through and set this up, we make sure they have one study hall and one elective that aren't graduation requirements. So if we need to, we can manipulate the student's schedule a little bit more once they get placed. So we were able to kind of easily do that. So that took 2 or 3 years to figure out, but making sure that the student has a schedule that can be manipulated. Expect changes, challenges, and issues. last year I had a kid who went for one day and was like, this is not what I want to do with the rest of my life. Like, okay, let's pivot. Let's see what we can do. Maybe find you something else. Maybe just go on site visits once a week. Just kind of learn, go see different things. And then my big thing is remember that these are high school students. For example, I have every year, halfway through the football season during the fall, a kid doesn't want to go to work on a Friday because it's our pep rally, and that's to find an employer that's like, yes, do that. You're a high school student now. That's a big green flag for me when I'm finding partners is like, hey, these kids are going to miss stuff because they are still high school students. So that's one of my big things. And actually that was said to me by an employer, by a company that said, hey, I get it. These are high school students. Stuff's going to come up. They're going to want to go to, be at the pep rallies. They're going to want to see guest speakers coming in. So like, I get it, but just make sure that they're letting us know, which kind of goes back to those soft skills, which is, it's fun. It's rewarding to see some of these kids. I have a lot of success stories of a 20-year-old kid who's getting his school paid for, getting paid to go to work, and actually stays in contact with me and sent me a picture of a house. I'm like, oh, cool. He's like, you're renting it? He goes, no, I bought it. And it was like, wow, that's awesome that we can help students do that and kind of change their life and their family's life through these experiences they can get while they're in high school. So thank you. I think my time is about up, and I will be here for questions later on.
Thanks, John. And you also shared some resources that we will share with folks, which they can review after today's session. I appreciate a lot of the information you shared, and especially love the fact that you incorporate students' lived experiences by using their contacts to identify placement. So thank you very much for that. Now we'll kick it over to Tina and Jessica to share their experiences at Rockford Public Schools.
Hello, I'm Tina Lamb. I am the College and Career Academy coach at Jefferson High School in Rockford. My primary responsibilities are to help our students get out for their work-based learning benchmarks. So their freshman year, we have an Academy Expo that all freshmen attend, and that's their benchmark. Sophomore year, all of our students go on a site visit. Junior year, they all have a job shadow, and then by senior year we're hoping to expand our internship program. And I'm also so I am at Jefferson only. There are 5 high schools, and we have an academy coach at each one of those high schools, and I am the liaison between our building and the district. So I'll let Jessica take over for that piece.
Sorry, so I'm Jessica Hayes. I'm the work-based learning coordinator with Rockford Public School District. I support all 5 of our high schools in work-based learning experiences, which Tina said, our Academy Expo, sophomore site visits, junior job shadows, and senior internships or apprenticeships, senior experiences. My job is to manage our community partners and where they get involved within all 5 of our high schools, as well as all of our volunteers. I'll give a quick overview before Tina gets into the demographics on kind of how our structure works. In all 5 of our high schools have what we call academy pathways. So we have 4 academies and 16 different pathways. Our 4 academies consist, this isn't in the slides, this is, I'm just adding this in there, and then Tina will go into the demographics. But we have 4 academies, and within those 4 academies, one of them is production. And within our production academy, we have 5 different pathways: engineering, manufacturing, construction trades, industrial tech, and transportation tech. And the goal is for all of our students in each grade, by the time they're sophomores, they'll pick their pathway. Then they'll get elective coursework from sophomore through senior year for dual credit classes. Hopefully they can join a career running start. We have, a lot of different options outside of that classroom, but the goal is to get them exposure to different careers and different classes, grades 9 through 12. Then I'll let Tina go into the demographics.
Okay, so we just mentioned there's 5 high schools in our district. And if you're not familiar with Rockford, we're practically on the border of Wisconsin in the north here. We have a little over 27,000 students in the district. Specifically here at Jefferson, we have almost 2,000 students. Next slide, please. So you can see a little bit of our breakdown here. We do have a large low-income population. A lot of our schools are Title I schools, so we get a lot of funding for that. Actually, if you can go back to the previous slide, I want to mention that just real quick. You can see here our breakdown as far as our ethnic groups. So we have a large Black and Hispanic population here in our school district. Next slide. And next one. I want to touch on the English language learners because that's kind of close to me here. My school has been the school for our bilingual population. So most of our English speaking students, or Spanish speaking students come to Jefferson for our bilingual program. It's in our building specifically, notice there for the district, it says 20%. Well, here at Jefferson, ours is 55%. So we do have a lot of English language learners here. The mobility rate is one thing that's really difficult, and I think that's the good thing about having the academies here in our school district. Each building has each academy, so it's not like just they come to Jefferson if they have production. Production is offered at every single high school. We are still working on that absenteeism rate with 61% of our students being absent from school chronically. The next. Jessica, you want to take over here?
Yep, that's me. So when we were originally started talking about the STAMP grant and what we were going to do with the STAMP funds is we have a very good pathway put together for our manufacturing students. So our students get the machine tool technology classes at our different high schools. And so we took the STAMP grant funds as an ability to expand on our work-based learning for our students. So what we did is we offered a summer internship. We reached out to our community partners and offered them to, if they could take on summer interns, that we would help pay for those internships for the summer in manufacturing. So what we did is we met in person with the students in these classes. We presented the internships to the students once we confirmed the site locations. We did end up having 9 student applicants that all interviewed at our site locations. 3 of them removed their applications because of other commitments, but 4 students were covered under the STAMP grant funds. There was a couple of students that actually did so well on their interviews that one location offered every single one of our students that interviewed an internship for the summer. And she knew she was only get a certain amount covered through the STAMP grant, but then they offered to go outside of the STAMP grant and pay for the funds for those students to come, because she literally wanted to offer all 9 of the students a spot because they all just did so well in the interviews. I feel like we missed a slide. That was my last. Can you go up back a slide? Or okay, go to the next slide then. I think they got mixed up, but so what we did is when we met with the students, we gave them an application through a Google form. We had specifics in the application of the material and things that they had to meet. We sent that to the teacher, we sent it to the students, the academy coach. The counselors were aware of these programs, of this internship as well. We allowed all the students to apply for it. They had to bring a resume. I met with each one of the students once they put their application through and were asked to go interview on site. I met with each of them, gave them an interview guide, told them how to prepare for their interview, what to expect from the internship, and what to do to get through the interview and to get through the internship. It went so well. We have 3 of them stayed. One, unfortunately, has decided that it's too much in a schedule, but we have worked it out through the student schedules this year that there's 3 of them at the site locations that have actually continued on with their internships this school year. We maneuvered their schedule around with our counselors in order for them to, because we don't have a block schedule. So what we did is there's 2 students that are working every day on site. One goes from 6 o'clock in the morning till 10 o'clock in the morning, and then goes to school in the afternoon. The other one is at the same location, but he's doing afternoons because that's what worked best in his schedule. So I think what my key things that I've learned from a lot of this is communication is so imperative is with your community partners. We have been, from day one, we allowed that conversation with our community partners of how it was going to be successful, how it was going to work, where it was going to fit, what the expectation was of them, what the expectation was of our students. And our students have just thrived. The one is getting offered a job already post-graduation. They're offering to pay for his education. They're already sending him to Rock Valley to take classes, and just meeting the student, he sees me and he is just glowing. And he's 17 years old and he's just got this wonderful path. And that's the thing, we continue to tell our story and why we do what we do, and hoping to continue to grow these year over year, not just in our manufacturing pathway, but across all of our pathways.
One of those students that Jessica was talking about, he had a little bit of a transportation issue, and even our community partner said she would go pick him up if necessary to get him to school and to get him to the site for his internship. So we have a really good partner, and I think that really makes a difference in how successful our kids are.
Thank you, Jessica and Tina. Appreciate all the advice, and definitely the idea of in-person communication on an ongoing basis with the students definitely resonates. That's something we've heard that students find to be very helpful. And now we'll kick it over to Katie to share her experience at Moille High School.
Thank you, Edith. Hi, my name is Katie Shevokas, and I actually have a kind of a different job. I am a part-time school counselor, but I also work part-time as a college and career pathway endorsement coordinator. So I've been kind of tasked in our area to have all of our high schools create these pathway endorsements. So it's been a very unique situation, and I really enjoy both aspects of that. You can go to the next slide. I actually live in and work in a very rural area. So we only have 84 students, 7th through 12th grade. It's mostly a farming community. There's not a lot in our district of manufacturing, but we live about 20 minutes from a lot of manufacturers. So that's kind of where we started planning our pathway endorsements. You can see like we've had a good success rate of getting our kids to college. We've spent a lot of time preparing kids for college. However, the last couple of years, we've decided that we're missing a huge population of our students wanting to go right into the career fields. You can go to the next slide. Primarily, our students, we have 41% low income and 28% special ed student population. So those are the two focus areas on the underrepresented populations that we really work with.
Katie, I think you're muted.
Sorry about that. I'm not sure how that happened. Our students, for the Career Start program, will get to go into any trade that they want to. We do a 4-year plan coming into their freshman year. We spent a lot of time their 7th and 8th grade year doing a career class with them. So they go through all 16 career clusters before they hit high school. So they kind of have an idea of what's out there and what they would like to participate in. And then our students create a 4-year plan, and the Career Start and both the College and Career Start program allow the students to kind of have ownership in what they want their high school career to look like, the opportunities that they participate in. And so we do a lot of career exploration, job shadowing, manufacturing, field trips. They start those at their freshman year, and they continue all throughout all 4 years. So we allow our flexible schedules, kind of like some of the other schools we're talking about, allowing the kids to come in, go to classes for part of the day and leave. We allow our students to do, they can go to the area career center, take classes at our local community college, Illinois Valley Community College, and then they can do the work-based learning program where they go on site to the either at the work site or for manufacturing or healthcare we've had. Sorry. You can go to the next slide. So in creating these pathways, though, we had noticed that we needed to provide opportunities for the students to take the dual credit classes. So we allow all of our students to take any college course as a dual credit course. So this could be in welding, auto mech, it could be in healthcare. It's whatever their field of choice is. And so we've noticed that the dual credit classes can be kind of pricey. So we started some different programs to help curve those prices. So the first thing that we did was we reached out to IVCC and we met with them several times. It does take persistence. And we were able to rearrange the fee structures. So now our students only have to pay $30 for the class if our teachers are teaching it. The other thing that we did was create a after-school program for dual credit, and our students could participate in a dual credit class of their choice at the high school, which allowed them to get that class paid for free, but also it allowed them to have the extra supports with teachers because most of these classes are online just because of our area. So both of our special ed populations and our low-income students were able to take advantage of these opportunities. The other thing that we did was just, I'm sorry, created a Marquis Energy career pathway endorsement. And so this is a partnership that we did with Marquis, and they are paying for our students to take the dual credit classes in welding and electricians in the fields, but they are also paying for the work-based learning. So our students get to leave school, go there, and they're paying them $17.50 an hour for their junior year and allowing them to come in their senior year at $18.50 an hour. This also builds a partnership with their apprenticeship program. So any of our students that participate in the career pathway endorsement, they earn that endorsement, they automatically get an interview into their apprenticeship program. Their apprenticeship program is something they just started last year. So this is the first year running with that. But they anticipate hiring about 500 employees over the next 5 years. So there's a lot of opportunity in that area. So what we found is the benefits for doing our career and college pathway is that our students really started to value their education a little bit more. I used to have students say, why am I here? Can I go home? But now they're really valuing that. They get to take a sequence of courses that lead well beyond high school. We had, in our pilot year, we had 3 students. 2 of them went right into their career field, making a significant amount of money. One actually was the manager over the other student at the same facility. But we really wanted just to give these kids like those real world experiences, promote what their future goals are, and prepare all of our students for whatever their goals are beyond high school. Our students have opportunities to learn both the career certifications and college credits, and just really engage them in their education. We have found that over the last 3 years of doing these programs that we have improved attendance, and our DF rate has significantly decreased. Actually, last year we didn't have any failing grades in the last semester, and last year we only had 1. So it's been a huge increase. You can go to the next slide. Okay. So in 2019, we actually started this pilot with the Career Start program. We had 2 students that were employed right away, 2 students that earned 30 plus college credits. And then as we all know, COVID hit and we kind of all just stopped for a minute. Last year, or the last 2 years, we were able to get one of our students actually graduated with her associate's degree. And then 4 additional students earned 24 plus college credits, which when we're looking at the class size, that class was a class of 20. So to have 5 out of 20 in that first full year was pretty impressive, I thought. And then in 2023, we had 4 students earn at least 48 college credits. And then this year, we're implementing our work-based learning, and we have 3 students that will be getting an internship, a paid internship in the spring semester. So just when we're advising students, we do several things. The first thing that I do is a career awareness month. So November is always our career awareness month. And I partner with our local manufacturing and industry leaders, and they provide information on their business. What do they make? What do they do? What jobs do they have? What openings are they going to have? And then we plaster that with the students every day of the month with a different opportunity that they have. And so that just opens up the awareness. What is around us? What opportunities do our students have? And then from there, then we build those career manufacturing expos and the field trips. So with any opportunity that we provide our students, I kind of have a whole sequence of individuals. So we contact the students via email, send them all out an opportunity to apply for this field trip. And then when I don't hear back from them, I will send it to the teachers and then encourage the teachers then to encourage the students that they know are interested in these positions. We also incorporate the parents. You know, I send out what the opportunity is to the parents, ask them to have a conversation with their student, really encourage them to participate. And then we also will meet with the students individually. After that, students that I know are interested in these fields are the ones that I target. I have a lot of females that are interested in the fields right now. So I had 100% non-trad students go to our manufacturing expo this year. So, but really just encouraging them and trying to find that focus for them and turning that into whether they should do these opportunities. Meeting them at the door every morning is a great way. Can get those usually interested right away. So, and then we do a lot of parent nights as well, just explaining like the dual credit, the opportunities that the students have. We'll do a work-based learning parent night so the parents understand what all of the opportunities that our students have and they can take part in this. And then just finding funding really so that our students don't have that worry of, yeah, I'd like to participate in this, but I don't know where that's coming from. So I really have written a lot of grants over the last couple of years so that our students have not had to pay for their dual credit classes or their opportunities. The last school year, we had 100% of our student seniors either do dual credit classes or go to the area career center and earn some trade certifications. And that is, some of them did both actually. So it's been pretty great as far as getting the kids interested in the CTE. We have probably more interested in CTE now than we do in college, but there's a lot of great opportunities in our area. We have another manufacturer who does a welding learner program and pays the students $22 an hour while they teach them to weld in an 80-hour program. So lots of opportunities there. You can go to the next slide. I think that was it, actually. Yep. The only thing I found of our key successes is that our attendance has really significantly increased. We have a lot of really great partnerships, which then provide a lot of opportunities for our students. And then we have a lot of students really taking participation in learning those skills in the manufacturing industry.
Great, thanks, Katie. Definitely appreciate all your advice, and I like the fact that you brought up the partnership you have with the community college to support students to get dual credit. So we'd like to open it up for questions. If anyone has questions. I see some have been answered in the chat.
I have a quick question, Edith. For the
Yeah.
stamp grant, I kind of missed. Was the stamp grant internship a summer internship or a school year internship?
Yeah, Jessica, I think she's talking about the Rockford internship using.
Yes, I'm sorry. Yep,
Yeah.
that's one.
No, you're good.
So we originated the internships through the stamp grant, and they were just a summer internship.
And
so
so
we
did-
took the funds that we were given and allowed them for the manufacturing internship. The students that stayed were offered after they are not paid through the grant any longer. The community partners offered to keep them because they just did such a great job, but they're paying them
Yes.
as well as earning, but they are also earning classroom credit for it.
That was my question. So they did earn high
Not for
school
the summer,
credit.
not for the summer.
No,
But
not
the
for the
school
summer.
year
Okay.
they are, yes.
Okay.
So
in the
we
summer they
cannot
were
pay them,
paid. In the summer they were paid, but no
But they
high
were-
school
yeah.
credit.
but they were paid for through the stamp grant because
Right.
that can't be anything with the school district. So they were paid
Mhm.
through the stamp grant through the summer. And then when the company initiated and offered them the extension into their internships, we offered them because as long as they get 60 hours based on ISB's internships. So if they'll do the 60 hours in each semester, they'll get one classroom credit each semester. I told them that, and it was up to the community partner if they chose to pay them outside of that.
Okay. And then for John from Elk Grove High School. So John, you had said you have about 150 students in that manufacturing pathway annually. How many of those students end up taking that culminating capstone course, Career Development Academy?
So at the end of it, we have typically about 10 seniors. Now that is 150 overall sophomores through seniors. So as they kind of go along the pathway, students kind of start going different ways. And then the ones that we kind of identify early on, but still a little bit later in their academic career, the ones that we really kind of focus on to give them these opportunities or these options. We don't ever force kids into this. We know
sure.
that would just be toxic, but
Right.
when it's all kind of said and done, we have about anywhere from 7 to 10 kids every year over the past 3 years now that have come through our manufacturing pathway and then hit that capstone. And some of them we even expedite. Like we may have a junior that is in that first year course that's like, hey, this is what I want to do. It's not necessarily set in stone the way it goes, but we do have a little bit of flexibility with that. But the 150 students is freshmen through seniors.
So if I get to my senior year in the pathway and I decide like going out on an internship isn't for me for whatever reason, like maybe it's a scheduling thing, is there still a manufacturing course I can take in the pathway as a 12th grader?
Yes.
Okay.
Yes, there's
Okay.
definitely, we have a plethora, and we also do have a full autos program, engineering program, woods programs. There's a lot of continuity between all of them. Most of the kids just kind of like we are in one hallway at the south end of our school, and we call them the south hallway kids that just don't want to leave. So there's plenty of stuff for them to do if they don't want to leave, and we've had that.
Sure.
We
Not
had
everyone's
that.
ready for it.
Exactly.
And then do you feel so like I heard you say you teach 4 or 5 classes and then the Career Development Academy. So like how much time, like if you think of your like how much you work all week, how much time would you say in a week is used to support the 10 kids in the Career Development Academy? Like, or what ratio of your time?
Early on, it's a lot, and it's a lot more than what
Like when you start the semester, is that what you mean by early on?
because
Okay.
we're doing resumes, we're going over soft skills. I'm taking kids to site visits. We kind of the students initially have their 7th and 8th block, which is the afternoon block on B days, off, and they're only assigned to me 7th block. But I do a little extra if we need to get a kid during that time. But then eventually I'm out maybe once a week just doing site visits once these students are placed. So like up front, it's a lot of extra effort, but as they're kind of out, they see me in one of the classes and I talk to them then, and then I go out and like about once a week, I try and go to a different site to visit the students. So that is technically my 7th and 8th block are technically release time, but I don't take advantage of it because I like to use it to do what I'm supposed to, you know?
Yeah.
So that's kind of how my schedule is set up. And again, we're fortunate that we have that block schedule. It makes scheduling a lot easier for our students.
Yeah, I would have to, that the block scheduling would be, it's fun trying to schedule a non-block schedule, but to piggyback off of what, like your question, like we up front, it's the same, like recruiting the community partners and getting them on board. But I created like an internship guide and like a checklist for our employers. So the community partner, once a student is on site, like I barely hear, unless there's an issue or there's a behavior issue or an attendance issue. I give the student and the community partner their attendance logs. And as long as they log their hours and there's no attendance issues or behavior issues, it's that work getting everybody onboarded and making sure all the sites are there. But then if you've got the guides and all that stuff that we've put together, go out to them. And then after that, it's unless there's an issue, we don't hear much from it.
Yeah, that's what I always say. I always say it's heavy up front, then it eases out, and then a kid gets fired or something happens, and then it's like scrambling all over again. Luckily, I've only ever had that happen like once. Or like the situation where it was like, nah, this just isn't for me. I'm like, okay, all right, and then so it is up front. The first, 2-3 months of school, the first quarter is a lot of upfront type stuff, but now we kind of ease into having a little bit more downtime technically. And like I said, I try to get out to the sites, our different partners, just to see the kids once a week. And I also don't tell the kids, so when they see me, they're like, "Oh, what are you doing here?" So it's fun though. I really do enjoy it. I'm fortunate to be able to kind of do that here at Elk Grove specifically.
Thank you.
All right. Are there other questions? If there are none from the attendees, I do have one. Actually, I have a couple. So one of my questions is that, we know there's a significant mismatch in the counselor to student ratio across the state, and this hurts students from underrepresented groups the most. What innovative ways have you found to address this shortage at your schools to ensure that students have the support they need? For example, how do you encourage staff whose job is not, counselor to provide these kinds of supports to students?
I can take that one. Here at Jefferson, we're fortunate that we actually have a counselor assigned to all of our academies. And in fact, our freshman academy has 2 counselors. So we aren't really seeing that shortage in our district. I think that is a priority that we make sure that our kids have the counselors that we need here. However, I will say we also have our small learning communities where we meet every single week as a whole for each academy. And so then we're identifying students that need supports through that small learning community, constant discussions, and through our MTSS process, that are multi-tiered systems of support. That's how we're helping to target those students who might need extra support.
I can add what we're doing here in Moille. So we wrote a grant, a school-based mental health grant, which allowed us to offer more school social workers, school counselors, and interventionists. And that we actually wrote that grant for 7 other schools in our area. So all of the schools were able to hire more individuals that would be able to assist students. And most of our schools in this area also have the Marquis mentoring program. So Marquis Energy also contributes to that. And the mentoring program allows us to have staff members matched up one-on-one with students. So all of our students that want to participate in that, which Moille has about 16 students that do participate in that, They have a one-on-one mentor that meets with them weekly for 30 minutes. And our students have to have 2 goals that they're trying to reach. And if they reach those 2 goals for the semester, then they Marcos does pay them for that support. So that's 2 of the things that we do. And then we also have a climate and culture presentation we do monthly with our staff, so that we can prepare them a little bit more for what the students are doing, what they're interested in, and the supports that they need, so that the teachers do understand that as well. There's a few things Moille's doing.
Yeah, I think I kind of outlined that when I talked about it. It's actually funny. I got a kid right now whose ride didn't show up from one of the internships, so we're trying to figure that out. So again, Cassie, that kind of answers maybe your question too. Like, it's when things don't quite go right that it's a lot of work. But yeah, I just have a really good relationship with who are junior counselors who then turn into our senior counselors, and we kind of lay the groundwork out of, like I said, making sure we have afternoons on B days off, and then like a study hall and an elective we could easily drop if we need to move stuff around. So yeah.
So John, like, do you have someone else in your building that helps you support these students? Like, if you got this call that a student didn't miss their ride or didn't have their ride, like while you were actively like instructing a class, like you had 35 kids in front of you, you're teaching a class, and this, is there someone else in the building that also supports this work?
So not in our building, at the district level.
Okay.
I have we have some support, but also another thing is I have access to the school's suburban, the district suburban. So there's been times where I have, like when we do site visits, we do that kind of like as a field trip. So these students do have ride releases, basically, that overarches, like I could take them in a school vehicle. I've had to drive a little white bus to get one kid before. So again, that's kind of where having that release time when the kids are at work or at the job site is nice for me. So yeah, I do have the number. They'll call the transportation specialist at the district, and if something doesn't happen, then I can quickly run over and get them, or we do have contacts with the taxi company or the transportation company. So again, that's kind of, I escalate it up the line if I need to, basically. So, but at Elk Grove, no, I don't, but I do have partners at the district level that oversee all of our apprenticeship internships that aren't just manufacturing. So
Thank you.
Yep.
Great, thank you all for those responses, and great to see this happening in real time. So one other question I had was, many of the practices you described include collaborating with outside partners. What does it take to be successful in developing and maintaining those relationships in service to students?
I guess it's just a lot of communication, constant communication. When you're managing all the different pathways and academies that we have, I've got partners in health and production and business. So it's just basically keeping a clear line of communication with them and giving clear intentional asks. With the stamp grant, it was very intentional of what we wanted them to do. We want you to take these students and this is what's going to happen. So I think that's one of the things we've seen really successful, especially with job shadows too, because we get out about 1,400 juniors for job shadows. So it's being clear and intentional to those community partners of, I need you to take 10 kids all 4 days. So you need to take 40 kids. But knowing the capacity as well of what my community partners can do. When you have a GE Aerospace or a Collins Aerospace, they can take a good group. But if you got your smaller manufacturers, you need to be a little intentional to not overwhelm them and give them too many students as well. So it's just really, I guess my biggest thing is really, really always communicating with them, and always just giving them updates, asking them where they're at, what they can do. Really successful for us.
Any other thoughts on what it takes to maintain and build these collaborations?
Just say, as far as building the collaborations, really finding what employers need as well for out of your students, and really bridging that between the schools and the employers. But yes, it does take a lot of communication, persistence, flexibility to build those and to keep those partnerships going.
All right, we have a couple minutes left, so I have one final question. You've each talked about reaching out to students. What's your best hack for communicating with high schoolers, particularly those from underrepresented or historically marginalized groups? And we just have a couple of minutes, so 30 seconds for each of you to give us your best hack. Tina, I see you're unmuted.
In person for sure. These kiddos don't read their emails. So I think, yeah, being in their face in a pleasant way, not a bad one. You know, just making sure that they are aware of what the opportunities are, and constant reminding and that kind of thing.
Yeah, same thing. I'm actually in one of our shop areas, and you see me looking over, talking to kids. Just being present, I think, is huge for a lot of our kids. And like I said, I'm fortunate that I do teach these students, and yeah, so just kind of being present and being stable for a lot of our kids. Being a stable presence is huge. The kids ride did show up for all of you I know that are waiting on the edge of the seat. So I don't have to run out of here and go get them and bring them back to school. So yeah, just being here and being consistent and being a stable presence, I think, is huge for our students at Elk Grove.
Yeah, I think John's absolutely correct. So we wait at the front door for our students every morning, just to greet them, remind them of different things that are coming up. But also snacks in your office help tremendously. They come to you. You don't have to chase them down.
Yeah, that's my top drawer behind me. That's the snack drawer right there.
Yep.
And they all know it.
Yep.
Offer them food and they'll love a job
show. Goes out quickly.
Offer them food and they're like, I'm on a job show. How many can I go to?
Mm-hmm. Well, thank you for sharing your hacks and all your insights. It's very clear to me that you all are taking student-centered approaches that are relationship-centered, and bringing those employer partners to meet your kids where they're at, getting your own school administrators and other faculty members to also meet kids where they're at. Just love to hear that. So thank you for presenting, sharing your time.